Good morning, students. How are you? Are you doing well? Yeah, good. So say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர், நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர், நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர், நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book and take page number 248. Yeah, today we will start with civics. So it's a long time. So we have seen civics a long days before. So we have discussed Indian Constitution in the first lesson. So what you have learned from the first lesson? Indian Constitution. So learn about the making of Indian Constitution. Then the salient features of Indian Constitution. Then you learned about fundamental rights and duties. Then you have learned about the direct principles of state policy. And finally about the relationship between center and state government, and also the emergency provision. So national emergency, state emergency and financial emergency. In today's class we will start with the second lesson, the central government. You often heard news from central government. So about Prime Minister, President, and sometimes the Council of Ministers, Defense Minister, Finance Minister, like that all. So who are they? So how they were appointed, what were their power? So you will learn about them in this lesson. So in central government you will learn about the union government in central. Okay, so in India we have two types of government, that is central government and state government. Then apart from that local government is there, so which you have learned in your 9th standard. You have learned about local self government in 9th standard. So in this class you will learn about the central government. So in next lesson you will learn about state government. So who are all in central government? So what are the organs of central government? So who have more power? How was the power distributed? How the laws were made in country? So how the laws were made in our country? So who was in charge of that? So you will learn about this and all in this lesson detail. Learning objectives. So what are you going to learn from this lesson? To know the powers of the president and vice president. So to know the powers of the president and vice president. Then to know about the prime minister and the council of ministers. So to know about the prime minister and council of ministers. Then to understand the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So these are the two houses of our parliament. So to understand the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then to know about Supreme Court. So the highest court of appeal. So the highest court in India is Supreme Court. So you will learn about the powers of the president and the vice president. Then about the prime minister and the council of ministers. Then understand the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then to know about the Supreme Court. So these are included in the central government. So you will learn about them in detail. Introduction. So the central government is the supreme government in our country. So the central government is the supreme. So the first is the chief government in our country. So the headquarters of the central government is at New Delhi. So New Delhi, the capital city. So the central government is the supreme government in our country. The headquarters of the central government is at New Delhi. So articles 52 to 78 in part 5 of the Indian Constitution deals with the union executive. So articles 52 to 78. So 52 to 78. So how many articles are there? 395 articles. So in this article from 52 to 78 in part 5 of the Indian Constitution deals with the union executive. So the makers of the Indian Constitution, so the makers, so while making the Indian Constitution, so give due recognition to the vastness and plural character of our nation. So the makers of Indian Constitution so wanted to give importance to the vastness and plural character of our nation. So our plural character means, so we have not a single character or culture. So we have multiple culture. So we have multiple language. So India is a country with a collection of different group of culture. So diversity of people. So in order to give importance to such a plural character, our makers, our constitution makers provided a federal arrangement for her governance. So our constitution makers provided a federal form of government. So federal form of government means, so there are two forms of government. One is unitary and another one is federal. So unitary means, so all the power is in the central government only. So there is no division of power. So if the power is divided between or distributed between the central and state government means, then it is called as federal. Because India is a plural character country. So India is a country with the diversified culture. Our constitution makers have provided a federal form of government. Okay, so the central government consists of three organs, namely union executive, legislature and judiciary. So the central government consists of three organs, so namely union executive, legislature and judiciary. Okay, union executive. So what do you mean by executive? The part of a government responsible for putting laws into effect. So executive means the part of a government responsible for putting laws into effect. So who put the laws into effect? So who was in charge? The union executive consists of the President of India, the Vice President, the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister and the Attorney General of India. So the union executive consists of the President of India, the Vice President, the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister and the Attorney General of India. So you have already known about President, Vice President, Prime Minister, Council of Ministers. But who is that Attorney General of India? So he is the highest law officer. So he is the highest law officer of central government. So you will learn about him at the end of this lesson. So Attorney General. So the union executive consists of the President of India, Vice President and the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister and the Attorney General of India. So their duty is to put laws into effect. So executive means, so nothing but the part of your government responsible for putting laws into effect. Then the next organ, legislative. So what do you mean by legislative? So connected with the act of making and passing laws. So legislative means then nothing but a law making body. So in India, the law making body is the parliament. So the law making body, the legislature is also known as the parliament. So it consists of two houses, namely Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So the legislative, that is the law making body, consists of two houses. Okay, so Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So Rajya Sabha, so it consists of how many members are there? 250 members. So in Lok Sabha, so 545 members. Okay, so the law making body, the legislature is known as the parliament in India. It consists of two houses, namely the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. So the members of the Lok Sabha were elected directly by the people of India, while in Rajya Sabha, so our elected representatives, that is our legislative members, the state legislative members elect the members of the Rajya Sabha. They were indirectly elected. Okay, Then the third organ, union judiciary. So it consists of the Supreme Court of India. So their duty is to check whether the laws are violated or not. So their duty is to check the violation of laws. Okay, so the central government consists of three organs. Okay, executive, legislative and judiciary. So executive, so the part of a government responsible for putting laws into effect. It consists of President, Vice President, so Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister and Attorney General of India. Then legislative, that is the law making body. So it is called as parliament. So the laws are passed in parliament. Okay, so the parliament consists of two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then third one, judiciary. So consists of the Supreme Court of India. So they check the violation of the laws. So they guide and check the violation of laws. So first, the union executive consists of President, Vice President, Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister and Attorney General of India. So first is the union executive. So President, so the President of India. So the President is the nominal executive authority. So nominal means, so in name. So but the real power is with the Prime Minister. So the President is the nominal executive authority. So the chief executive of the Indian Union is the President. So the chief executive. So the chief executive of Indian Union is the President of India. So he is designated as the first citizen of India. So the president, he is designated as the first citizen of India. He is the supreme commander of the armed forces. So he is the supreme commander of the military forces. So the president is also the constitutional head of the union executive. So the president is the constitutional head of the union executive. So according to Article 53 of the Indian Constitution, the executive power of the union shall be vested in the president, which shall be exercised by him directly or through officers subordinate to him in accordance with the constitution. Yes, according to Article 53. So the executive power, so that is the part of a government responsible for putting laws into effect. So the president, so he only put laws into effect. So either directly or through officers. So like the Prime Minister, Council of Ministers and other officers. So subordinate to him in accordance with the constitution. So as per constitution, so he is the supreme person. So the president is the nominal authority. So the executive of the Indian Union, the chief executive of the Indian Union is the president. So he is designated as the first citizen of India. So he is the supreme commander of the armed forces. So according to Article 53, the executive power of the union shall be vested in the president. So the executive power, so shall be vested with the president, which shall be exercised by him directly or through officers subordinate to him in accordance with the constitution. So we can simply say that president is the head of the state and prime minister is the head of the government. So president head of the state, that is head of the constitution. But the prime minister, he is head of the government. So the head of the state, it won't change. But head of the government, it often change. That is the constitution won't change, but the government often change. Okay, so say for example, so the difference between the head of the state and the head of the government. So you are now in 10th standard. So next year you are going to 11th. So last year you are studying 9th standard, but the 10th standard is still there. So it is the state. So continuously it will be there only. But the students, you are changing. You are government. So simply. Okay, so the state is permanent. It is there. But the government is temporary. It is often changing. So that is the head of the state. So the head of the state is the president. So he is the constitutional head. So he is the chief head of the union executive. But the government, so that is you students. So you are often changing. So you are moving from class to class. So that is the government. So that is the head of the government. Yes, it often change. So that is the president. So the president of India. So he is the nominal executive. So he is the first citizen of India. Then also the supreme commander of the armed forces. Okay, so he exercises his power directly or through the officers subordinate to him in accordance with the constitution. So qualification for the election as president. So who can be elected as the president? So what are the qualifications? So first, he should be a citizen of India. So if a person wanted to choose as president, or if the person wanted to contest in the election of the president of India means, so the qualifications needed were, he should be the citizen of India. Then he must have completed the age of 35 years. So he must have completed the age of 35 years. He must not hold any office of profit under the union, state or local government. So that is, he should not be any government job. So he should not hold any office of profit under the union, state or local government. Then he should have the other qualifications required to become a member of the Lok Sabha. That is, so he have been the qualification so to become a member of the Lok Sabha. So here not, they didn't mention about Rajya Sabha. So just they mention about Lok Sabha. So he should have the qualifications required to become the member of the Lok Sabha. Then his or her name should be proposed by at least 10 electors and seconded by another 10 electors. So his or her name, the persons who wanted to contest in the president election, so the name should be first proposed at least by 10 electors and seconded by another 10 electors. So first it was proposed by 10 electors followed by another 10 electors. So they have to support or they have to propose the name. So who wanted to contest in the election. So of the electoral college which elects the president. So the president cannot be a member of the parliament or of a state legislator. So the president cannot be a member of the parliament or of a state legislator. If he is a member of any legislator, his seat will be deemed to have been vacated on the date he or she assumes the office of president. If the person who is a member of the parliament or a member of state legislative assembly, so have to vacate his office. So if he didn't vacate his office means, then his seat will become vacated. His seat will be declared as vacated when he assumes the office of the president. So the qualification for the election of president. So he should be a citizen of India. He must have completed 35 years of age. Then he must not hold any office of profit under the union, state or local government. Then he should have the other qualifications required to become the member of Lok Sabha. Then his or her name should be proposed by the 10 electors, at least 10 electors, and seconded by the another 10 electors of the electoral college, which elects the president. Yes, electoral college means, so the president of India was not elected directly by the people of India. So he was elected by the members of the parliament and members of the legislative assembly, so state legislative assembly. So the elected members of both houses of the parliament and elected members of the states and elected members of the some of the union territories. So that is the electoral college. So the president cannot be a member of the parliament or of a state legislator. If so, he is member of any legislator or a member of parliament means, so his seat will be deemed to have been vacated on the date he or she assumes the office of the president. So on the date if he assumes the office of the president means, then his seat in the parliament or in legislature, if so became vacant. So do you know the resident house of the President of India? So where he stays? It was called as Rashtrapati Bhavan. So it is well known fact that the President of India resides at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. So the residence and the office of the President are located in the same building. So the resident and also the office of the President located in the same building. However, he has two other office cum residences where he conducts office at least once a year. So apart from Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi, so he had two other offices cum residences where he conducts offices at least once a year. So they are called as the retreating building at Shimla. So they are called as retreating building at Shimla and the Rashtrapati Nilayam at Hyderabad. So apart from Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi, so there is another office and residence for the President of India. So one at Shimla, so called as the retreating building, and another one is called as Rashtrapati Nilayam at Hyderabad. So these two are located. So one in north, that is Shimla, it is in north. And another one is south. So it symbolizes the unity of the country and unity of the diverse culture of the people. So the location of the President's office and residence, apart from Rashtrapati Bhavan, at Shimla and Hyderabad. So that is one in north and another one in south. It symbolizes the unity of the country and the unity of the diverse culture of the people. So you have learned about the qualification of the President of India. Then how was the President of India elected? So who elect the President of India? So the President is elected by an electoral college in accordance with the system of proportional representation by a means of single transferable vote. So the President is elected by an electoral college. So who are all in the electoral college? So the electoral college consists of the elected members of the both houses of the parliament. So the electoral college consists of the elected members, not the nominated members. So the electoral college consists of the elected members of the both houses of the parliament and the elected members of the states and elected members of the national capital territory of Delhi and Puducherry. So Delhi and Puducherry, so they were union territories. So because Delhi and Puducherry, so these two union territories only have legislative assembly. So there is elected members is there. But if you take other union territories, there is no legislative assembly. So that's why, so the members of that is the elected members of the national capital territory of Delhi and Puducherry also participated in the presidential election. So once elected as the president, so he has to take an oath of office before the Chief Justice of India. So once a person elected as the president means, so he has to take an oath. So oath means A formal statement or promise to do something or something is true. A formal statement or a promise to do something or something is true. So the president have to take an oath of office before the Chief Justice of India. Okay, wow. So the president elected by the electoral college in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. So that is, so their name was given in the ballot. So the members, that is the elected members of the parliament and the state legislative assembly have to choose the number, have to choose the name. So by marking the number. So that is the single transferable vote. So only one time they have given choice to put vote. Okay, so they have to choose the candidates. So in number. So they have to give the first preference, second preference and third preference. So the person who got so most of the first preference will be chosen as the President of India. So the person who got so first preference by the most of the candidates, so was chosen as the President of India. So once he elected as the President of India, so he or she has to take an oath of office before the Chief Justice of India. So the President is elected for a term of 5 years and can be re-elected for any number of time. So the President in India can be elected for a term of 5 years and can be re-elected for any number of time. So now American presidential election is going on. So what is the term of office of American President? 4 years. Then how many times he can be re-elected? In India, it was multiple times. You can be a president for more number of times. But in America, only 2 times. So the office is, the term of office is just 4 years, and at the same time he can be re-elected for only 2 times. But in India, he can be re-elected for multiple times, for many times. So the President of India, so the nominal executive, so the chief executive of the Indian Union. So Article 53 so says about the executive power of the Union shall be vested in President. Then you learn about the qualification of the President. Then the resident and the office of the President. So the office of the President and the resident is in New Delhi, so called as Rashtrapati Bhavan. Apart from that, so he have one home, one resident come office in Shimla, that is called as Retreating Building, and another one is at Hyderabad, that is in South India, called as Rashtrapati Nilayam. Then we will understand about the election of the President of India. So he was elected by the Electoral College, consists of the members of the Parliament, elected members of the Parliament, and also the elected members of the states and elected members of the National Capital Territory of Delhi and Puducherry. Then the powers of the President. So the powers of the President so can be studied under the following headings. That is the executive powers, legislative powers, financial powers, judicial powers, military powers, diplomatic powers, and emergency powers. So the powers of the President can be studied under the following headings. So first one is executive power, legislative power, financial power, judicial power, military power, diplomatic power, and emergency power. So we will discuss one by one. So executive powers. So Article 77 requires that every executive action of the Union shall be taken in the name of the President. So executive power says that. Article 77. So executive power means the part of your government responsible for putting laws into effect. So who put laws into effect? So that is the executive power. So the President, so he is responsible for making laws. So that is, he is responsible for putting laws into effect. So how he put laws into effect? So through the officers. So through the officers subordinate to him. So that is mentioned in Article 53. But Article 77 says that every executive action of the Union shall be taken in the name of the President. So the Union can take action, can take every executive action in the name of the President only. So the President so appoints the Prime Minister and other members of the Council of Ministers. So the President, he only appoints the Prime Minister. So Prime Minister, so how he was appointed? So who was elected as the Prime Minister of India? The person who got majority support in Lok Sabha was chosen as the Prime Minister. The President appoints the Prime Minister and other members of the Council of Ministers, and distribute departments, that is distribute portfolios. So portfolios means departments, to them on the advice of the Prime Minister. So the president appoints the prime minister, and on the advice of the prime minister, the president appoints the council of ministers and distribute portfolios to them. He is responsible for making a wide variety of appointments. So apart from appointing prime minister and the council of ministers, so he is responsible for making a wide variety of appointments. So who were appointed by President of India? Yeah, the governor of the state, the chief justice, and the other judges of the Supreme Court and High Court, the attorney general, the comptroller and auditor general, the chief election commissioner, and the other election commissioners, the chairman and other members of the Union Public Service Commissions, ambassadors, and high commissioners to the other countries. Yes, apart from appointing prime minister and other council of ministers, so the president of India had to appoint various officers. Yeah. So this includes the governor of the state. Yeah. Then the chief justice and other judges of the Supreme Court and High Court, the attorney general, the highest law officer, the comptroller and auditor general. So comptroller means a person who is in charge of a financial account. Yes, a person who is in charge of a financial account. Yeah. Then auditor, a person who officially examines the business and financial records. Yes, a person who officially examines the business and financial records. That is comptroller and auditor. So they check the financial account of the government. Yes, they check and examines the business and financial record of the central government. Okay. Then the chief election commissioner. Then the election and other election commissioners, then the chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission, then ambassadors. So ambassadors means an official who lives in a foreign country as the senior representative there of his or her own country. Okay, so an official who lives in a foreign country as the senior representative there of his or her own country. Okay, so ambassador, yeah, and high commissioners to the other countries. So these were the department, these were the officers so appointed by the President of India. So Article 77 requires that every executive action of the Union shall be taken in the name of the President only. Then the legislative power. So legislative power means the law-making body. So the legislative power is vested with the President of India and also the Parliament. So the President, so he inaugurates the session of the Parliament. So inaugurates means to introduce a new public official or leader at a specific ceremony. That is, he starts the session of the Parliament by addressing it after the general election and also at the beginning of the first session each year. So the President inaugurates the session of the Parliament. So he only starts the session of the Parliament every year or after every general election by addressing it. Okay, so this address is essentially identical in nature to a speech from the throne. So this is identical to the speech from the throne. That is, throne means here it denotes about the King of England. So the King or Queen of England, that is the throne of England. We are following the British model of Parliament. So there is also Parliament. So Parliament is also there in British. So we are just imitating their method only. So they have no president, so no chosen president. So their king or queen is considered as the monarchical head. So they were considered as the head of their constitution. Okay, so in British, every year the king or queen delivers the speech. Okay, so after general election or at every session, at the beginning of every session of the year. So in the same way, the President of India, so he delivers a speech after general election in the Parliament and at the beginning of the first session each year. So just we are imitating, we are copying from the speech of the throne. So the President summons Parliament at least twice in a year. So the President summons means to arrange an official meeting. So the President arranges the official meeting of the Parliament at least twice in a year. So the legislative power. So he inaugurates the session of the Parliament by addressing it after the general election and also at the beginning of the first session of each year. So this address, so this speech is essentially identical in nature to a speech from the throne. So speech from the throne in England. So the President summons, that is officially arranges the meeting of Parliament at least twice in a year. So he may send messages to either houses of the parliament with respect to a bill pending in the house. Okay, so he may send a message to either house of the parliament. So maybe Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, if there is any bill pending in the house. So all the bills passed by the parliament became laws of act only after getting assent of the president. So all the bills passed in the parliament, so can become an act only after getting assent. So assent means official agreement to or approval of something. So official agreement or official approval of something. So the bill passed in the parliament can become an act only after getting the support, official support of the president. So you can say, so bill means in Tamil it was called as masoda. So act means sattam. So a bill can become an act only after getting the official support of the president. So even though both house passed the bill, so with required majority, it does not become an act until the president gave his assent. So until the president gave his official support. Okay, so money bills can be introduced in the parliament without his approval. So money bills cannot be introduced in the parliament without his approval. So money bills can be introduced only after getting the approval of the president. So president terminates the session of both or any of the houses of the parliament. So president terminate means so to end. That is to make something end. So president can end the session of both or any house of the parliament. He can even dissolve the Lok Sabha before the expiry of the term of house. So he can dissolve the Lok Sabha before the expiry of the term of house. So Lok Sabha, so the term of office of Lok Sabha is 5 years. But the president can dissolve the Lok Sabha even before. So and he nominates 12 persons who are eminent in literature, science, sports, arts and social service to the Rajya Sabha. So he can nominate 12 members, so who are eminent, so who are most important, who are excellent in some field like literature, science, sport, art and social service to the Rajya Sabha. Then apart from that, he also nominate 2 persons belonging to the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. So he can nominate 2 Anglo-Indian community members to the Lok Sabha if in his opinion that community is inadequately represented in the house. So if he thought that the Anglo-Indian community is not represented, so not represented adequately, not represented in record number means, so he can nominate 2 persons from the Anglo-Indian community. So in legislative power, so the president, so he inaugurates the session of the parliament by addressing it after the general election and also at the beginning of first session each year. Then he summons the parliament at least twice in a year. Then he may send a message to either house of the parliament with respect to a bill pending in the house. Then all the bills passed by the parliament can become an act only after getting his approval. Then money bill can be introduced only after getting permission from the president. Then he can terminate the session of both houses of the parliament or any one house of the parliament. That is, he put an end to the session. Then he can dissolve the Lok Sabha before the expiry of term of house. Then he nominate 12 members to the Rajya Sabha. So the 12 members, so they were excellent. So they were eminent persons in the field of literature, science, arts, sports and also social service. Then apart from that, he nominate 2 Anglo-Indian community members to the Lok Sabha. So these are the legislative powers of the president. So in executive, we have seen, so the officers, so appointed by the president of India. So he appoints the prime minister, the council of ministers and other important officers. Then legislative power. So in relation with the parliament, so what are the powers of president in related to parliament? Then financial power. So annual budget. So presented by the finance minister. So who is our present finance minister? So can you tell me? So she is a woman, she is a lady. Check it. In tomorrow's class, I will tell who is the finance minister of India. So you can see in this picture itself. So who was she? Nirmala Sitharaman. Very good. So the financial minister. So the finance statement. So the annual finance statement was also called as budget. So the annual budget of the central government is presented before the Lok Sabha by the Union Finance Minister only with the permission of the President. So the annual budget, that is annual financial statement of the central government, is presented before the Lok Sabha by the Union Finance Minister only with the permission of the President. So the President, he causes to be laid before the Parliament the annual financial statement. So he is responsible. So he causes, so to laid, that is to put somebody or something in a particular position, especially when it is done gently or carefully. That is to put something in a particular place. That is, he causes to be laid before Parliament the annual financial statement. So the Constitution of India places the contingency fund of India at the disposal of the President. So the Constitution of India places the contingency fund. So contingency fund means, so the fund which can be used in emergency situation. So the government can use the money during the emergency situation. So that can be taken from the contingency fund. So there is another fund called as consolidated fund. So that fund is used by the government for its expenses. So that is for giving salaries and for spending money for various schemes. But if the government so wanted to use the money from contingency fund, that is emergency fund means, so the permission of the President is necessary. So the Constitution of India places the contingency fund of India is at the disposal of the President. So no demand for a grant can be made except on his recommendation. So he can make advances out of the contingency fund of India to meet an unexpected situation. So he can make advances. So he only gave permission. So he make advances out of the contingency fund of India to meet unexpected expenditure. Then he constitutes a finance commission every 5 years. So he constitute a finance commission every 5 years. So annual budget of the central government presented before Lok Sabha by the Union Finance Minister only with the permission of the President. So he causes to be laid before the Parliament the annual financial statement. So the Constitution of India places the contingency fund of India at the disposal of the President. No demand for a grant can be made except on his recommendation. That is, the amount from contingency fund can be made, so can be taken only after getting his recommendation. So he constitutes a finance commission after every 5 years. So this is the financial power. So judicial power. So we have discussed executive power, legislative power, financial power. So executive power. So the officers so were appointed. So the various department so appointed by the President. He appointed the Prime Minister and other Council of Ministers and various officers. So various appointment so made by the President is in executive powers. Legislative power, so related with the Parliament. The financial power related with the so financial statement. Then judicial power. So Article 72 confers on the President power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites or remissions of punishment or to commute the sentence of any person convicted for an offence. So Article 72 confers on the President. So Article 72 gave the power to the President so to grant pardon. So pardon means an official decision not to punish somebody for a crime. So pardon means an official decision not to punish somebody for a crime. So the President has the power to grant pardon. So he can declare not to punish anyone for a crime. So not to punish a person for his crime. Then reprieve. So reprieve means so stay of the execution for a temporary period. So that is, so stop the punishment for a temporary period. So not permanently. So he stops the punishment. So stay the execution for a temporary period. Then respite. So respite means so award less sentence, award less punishment due to some special fact such as physical disabilities. So respite means so award less sentence, so award minimum punishment. So reducing the punishment level. So due to some special fact such as physical disabilities. Then remission. So remission means reducing the period of sentences, reducing the period of punishment. That is from example, so from 4 years to 2 years or 1 year. So the punishment, so the period is reduced means then it is called as remission. So or to commute the sentence of any person convicted of an offense. So the President of India, so under Article 72, so have the power to grant pardons. So pardon means an official decision not to punish somebody for a crime. Then reprieve, that is stay of the execution for a temporary period. Then respite, award less sentence due to some special fact such as physical disabilities. Then remission, reducing the period of sentences, that is from, say for example, so from 4 year to 1 year, or from 6 year to 3 year, or 6 year to 1 year. So reducing the period of sentence. So to commute the sentence of any person convicted of an offense. So these are the judicial power. So the President has such a judicial power. So he can grant pardon. So he can excuse a person for his crime. So he can reduce the period of punishment. So he can stay the execution for a temporary period. So he has various power in judiciary. Then military power. Article 53(2). So Article 53, so Division 2 lays down that the supreme command of the defense force of the Union shall be vested in the President, and the excess therefore shall be regulated by law. So Article 53, so Part 2 lays down that the supreme commander of the defense force was the President. So vested with the President, and the excess thereof shall be regulated by law. So he can act in accordance with the law. So the supreme commander of the defense force was the President of India, and he must act in accordance with the law, that is in accordance with the Constitution. So that is the military power. Diplomatic powers. So the President appoints Indian diplomats to other countries and receives foreign diplomats posted to India. So the President appoints Indian diplomats to other countries and receives foreign diplomats posted to India. So diplomat means a person whose job is to represent his or her country in a foreign country. So diplomat means a person whose job is to represent his or her country in a foreign country. So the President appoints Indian diplomats to the other countries and receives foreign diplomats posted to India. So the ambassador designated becomes ambassador after calling on the President and presenting his credential. So the ambassador designate becomes ambassador only after calling on the President and the President is credential. So credential means qualities, experiences, etc. that makes somebody suitable for something. So credential means so qualities, experiences, etc. that make somebody suitable for something. So the ambassador designate so becomes ambassador after calling on the President and presenting his qualities and experiences. So that makes him suitable for the post of ambassador. All treaties and agreement with the foreign countries or foreign states are entered into in the name of the President. So all the treaties and agreements with the foreign countries can be entered only in the name of the President. So likewise it started as in the name of the Honorable President of India. So like that only every agreement begins. Every agreement was signed. So that is the diplomatic power. So the President appoints the Indian diplomats to other countries and receives foreign diplomats from other countries to India. So the ambassadors designate becomes ambassador after calling on the President and presenting his credential and presenting his qualifications. All the treaties and agreements with the foreign states are entered into in the name of the President. So the emergency power. So in the unwanted situation, so the President have some power. So that is the emergency power. So the President has been empowered by the Constitution to proclaim 3 types of emergency. That is national emergency under Article 352, state emergency under Article 356, the financial emergency under Article 360. So the President has been empowered. The President was given power by the Constitution to declare national emergency under Article 352 and state emergency under Article 356 and financial emergency under Article 360. So we have learned about the emergency powers in the previous lesson itself. So these are the powers of the President. Then the removal of the President. So how can be the President removed from his office? So the President may by writing under his hand addressed to the Vice President resigning his office. So the President can resign his office by signing, by addressing the resigning letter to the vice president. So the president must send his resign letter only to the vice president, so not to any other higher officers. So the president may, for violation of the constitution, be removed from office by impeachment in the manner provided in Article 61. Yes, in Article 61, it mentions about the removal of the president from his office for his violation of the constitution. So by the process of impeachment. So impeachment means to charge an important public officer, to charge an important public figure. Okay, so the president may, if he violated the constitution, means can be removed from the office, so which was provided in Article 61. So the impeachment action can be brought about in the form of resolution in either house of the parliament. So the impeachment, so can be brought in the either house of the parliament in the form of resolution. So it must be supported by not less than 1/4 of the total strength of the house for its introduction. So it must be introduced in either house, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. But it must be supported by 1/4 of the total strength of the house. So wherever it was introduced in that house, it was supported by 1/4 of the members, total members. So the president shall, in spite of the conclusion of his term, continue to hold office until his successor enters upon his office. So the president can continue his office until his successor take upon the office. So the president, so the term of office is 5 years. So after his expiry, so he can be continue as president until his successor take over his office. Okay, so president can be removed. So president may submit his resign letter addressing by his hand to the vice president. So he can be removed when he violated the constitution by the process of impeachment, which was mentioned in Article 61. So for that, so it must be brought as a resolution in either house of the parliament, in any one house of the parliament. But it must be supported by not less than 1/4 of the total members. So maybe in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So the president shall, in spite of the conclusion of his term, so in spite of the conclusion of his term, that is before the expiry of his term, so can be resign his letter or even continue his office after the end period. So after 5 years term, he can't continue his office. So until his successor enters upon his office. So until a new president came into office, he can be he can be at the office of the president for an indefinite period until his successor hold the office. So that is the removal of the president. Okay, students. So today's class we have discussed about the President of India. So the qualification, the election of the president, then the powers of the President of India. So various powers, and also finally the removal of the president. So can be president. How can be president removed? So only by submitting his resign letter to the vice president or by violating the constitution. That is impeachment process, Article 61. So which can be supported by not less than 1/4 of the total strength of the house. Then, in spite of the conclusion of his term, continue to hold office until his successor enters upon his office. So we have discussed these things. So today's textbook reading. Take page number 249. So read the heading, the President of India, and also the qualification for the election as the president. So that is your textbook reading. Then homework. So take page number 258. Sixth Roman letter, answer in detail. First question, describe the executive and judicial powers of the President of India. So take page number 249 and 250. So 249. So in that see the heading, executive powers. So Article 77 requires that every executive action of the Union shall be taken in the name of the President. He appoints the Prime Minister, the other members of the Council of Ministers, distributing portfolios to them on the advice of the Prime Minister. He is responsible for making a wide variety of appointments. This includes the appointment of governors of state, chief justice, other judges of the Supreme Court and High Court, the Attorney General, the Comptroller and Auditor General, Chief Election Commissioner, and other election commissioners, the chairman and other members of the Union Public Service Commission, ambassadors and high commissioners to the other countries. The next page, judicial power. Article 72 confers on the President power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites or remissions of punishment or to commute the sentence of any person convicted of an offence. So this is the answer for first detail. Okay, va? So mark it and write it and read well. Okay, va? So okay students, so if you have any doubt in this topic, so please contact me. So thank you. Have a nice day.